Hello, and welcome to the Healing Our Industry podcast. This is a space where we facilitate wholehearted conversations and cultivate meaningful connection and belonging. We believe that in order to heal our industry, we must first prioritize our individual healing. Take your seat at the table and join us for powerful, wholehearted conversations. Together, we can begin healing our industry. But before we dive into today's episode, let us make this very clear. You belong here. You are done trying to prove that you are enough. You are no longer trying to prove that you are worthy. You now choose to accept these statements as irrefutable truths. This version of you is enough and worthy of everything you desire. Are you ready to release those old beliefs and build your dream life from a place of abundant alignment? Are you ready to own your power and expand into the best possible version of you? All right, let's go. Hey, y'all, this is your host, Nessa, and joining us today is our dear friend and my sister, Kim. Welcome, Kim. Will you please move into the frame?
Sorry, guys, I had to hide because this is probably the fifth time we've tried recording the intro, but we just keep breaking out into hysterical laughter every single time. We had, I can't even. Hi, everyone. I'm here.
Hello.
So, okay, so I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm breaking out of my little hobbit hole for a very, very brief reset. I want to facilitate this conversation with you guys because I get so fired up about New Year's goal setting. So fired up about New Year's goal setting. So I have my notes. I'm ready to go. I'm still in my time off, and that's why I want to facilitate this conversation, because in this time off that I've taken for December of 2022 for my own personal healing from everything I've gone through this year, I get these bursts of feeling fueled up and ready to go. And I really, really have to make myself slam on the brakes. And just because I'm feeling inspired, it doesn't mean that I'm healed and ready to build. Like, I still have a lot of foundation work that needs to be patched before I can start building infrastructures. So because of what I've been going through in that process and like all of that behind the scenes, I want to facilitate that for everyone else because I know we're going through a collective healing right now as well. And this is called the Healing Our Industry podcast for a reason. And when I was listening to Nessa record the intro, I was sitting here thinking we need to add, like, join us at the table for like wholehearted, powerful conversations. But I think we need to add messy, because messy is a part of healing. Messy is like, you cannot heal unless you unpack and make a mess of everything that you've been trying to hide in that closet. You have to let yourself get messy. You have to let yourself break. And through that, that's how the light gets in. Whenever you allow those cracks, that's where you now have space for joy. And Nessa and I have been sitting here probably 20-30 minutes trying to get this intro down, just laughing our asses off. But I was literally sitting here, trying to collect myself so that Vanessa can do her thing and do the intro. But it reminded me of Thanksgiving week. We obviously, Nessa and I spend a lot of time together, but it reminded me of Thanksgiving week. There was a moment, I might have been on Thanksgiving Day, where Nessa and I were talking, and something, because we bullshit all the time, but there was something that we said that I legit belly laughed. Like, I laughed so hard I cried. And I remember thinking to myself, I can't remember the last time I laughed like this. Like, I cannot remember the last time that I truly experienced like untethered joy, where it wasn't like, oh, can't let the lid off of that, I'm losing control, there's so much other stuff, like I can't let myself experience this happiness. And I think that's part of fulfillment as well, allowing yourself to experience that full range of emotions, because when it comes to life, like, what's it all about if you can't actually be in it and experiencing those moments of happiness and joy and those moments of pain, because you have all now seen me go through massive, massive pain. But allowing myself to go there has, I gave myself permission to do the work, to unpack it all, lay it all out, and make space for the things that do matter, which is exactly what I want this conversation today to be about. So I'm here, but I'm not here. I'm still taking a couple of weeks to get back to myself and find a new rhythm. I'm feeling very, very, very inspired right now, but there are still times where I'm dipping into those lows. And there I I had a client tell me about this trend on TikTok, and it was this dog. I think it was a dog. And then the owner would like every morning stand it up. Sometimes the dog would stand and sometimes the dog would just collapse back down. So it was, is today going to be a bones day or a no bones day? And I'm having less no bones days, but no bones days still get me. In my like bones days are becoming more regular, but I'm learning to give myself permission for the no bones days and say, okay, but what can I do today? And how do I not push myself? How do I find ways of operating in an easeful, restful way so that I am not burning myself out? Like, how do we get to the point where it's not a roller coaster of highs and lows? We're on the kiddie coaster, just like like Nessa talks about with our bodies getting into that, what's the science word that you say?
Parasympathetic nervous
Yeah.
system.
Getting into our parasympathetic where our blood sugar is rolling like a kiddie coaster and not spiking and crashing. I want my energy to be like that. I want I don't want to go through massive, massive highs and then crash into big lows. That's not sustainable long term. That's how that's how our lives get out of control, and that's how people lose themselves.
And
Is
how burnout happens more quickly because it's almost like a seasonal thing of like
Mhm.
around this time, everybody's exhausted, everybody's tired, everybody's so busy. How can we not always have to go on burnout? How can we just have maybe a kiddie coaster ride of a year?
Exactly. So, on that note, I think what we should talk about is how most people approach New Year's goal setting. New Year's resolutions are so trendy. I mean, and they've become so, capitalism has taken over New Year's resolutions as well. So it's all about the planners, the workout gear. It's always about the new year, new you thing. And most people will sit down at the end of the year, say, did I accomplish my New Year's resolutions? Did I accomplish my goals? Yes, no. Did I tick all the boxes? Okay, cool. Now, what do I want to accomplish? Like, let's make this to do list for this year and make sure that throughout the year, I'm ticking off all the things that I want to accomplish this year and then move on with their lives. And I realized I, over the last few years, since I've been on a personal development journey, I I got even further into that hustle culture, but it was this drive of, oh, I went through one year where I did the last 90 days. Remember that program I did? Where it was the like 5 to Thrive thing. So I had 5 things I had to do every single day, and that started October 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So I spent October, November, December like working out every single day, trying to get a jump start and just burning myself out even more at the end of the year so that I could set myself up for the new year. And I know I'm not alone in that. I know a lot of people operate in that way. So I have always done my New Year's goal setting and planning for the following year around this time of year, but it's always been like this nagging thing. Like, oh God, I know I need to, but I don't really like want to sit down and do all of that. Um, So even in my personal life, like Ben and I will make it a date night and then do a reflecting on the last year and then a planning for the future year. But it's something that and then our anniversary is right in the middle of the year. So then we'll kind of do like a mid-year touch base on that and then kind of go from there. But through what the transformation that I've been going through over the last month and a half, um, I have discovered, and I wouldn't even say discovered, I think I genuinely, I've not seen anyone else do this. What I'm about to describe to you guys and the process that I'm going through right now, I've never seen anyone plan this way. And I've kind of taken different things from different places and integrated them to just where I'm at on my journey right now. And that's exactly what a podcast is. This is like a timestamp. It's kind of like a little time capsule of where this human being is at this point in time. And the views that I had 3, 6, 9 months ago aren't necessarily the views that I have now. I've changed and grown so much as a person, and that's a good thing. The only thing that is promised, the only constant in life is change. So how do we facilitate that in a healthy way? So, um, are you ready for me to break into that, or do you have any questions before I move on?
No, I think we're ready to go.
Okay.
Um, Sorry if we're a little hacky. We're still recovering from all that laughing we did. It was fun. I really enjoyed it. But I think we're ready to hear your thoughts on how can we approach these last few days of this year and as we transition into 2023.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is not something that I want you guys to think like I'm giving you homework. I want to invite you to participate in this should you choose to. And even if you just want to observe and see how I'm doing things, you don't have to do this. Even if your brain just processes these things, that's powerful. So I want to invite you into a little glimpse of my journey of what I'm doing over the last week of 2022 and the first week of 2023 and what I'm going to be doing to plan accordingly. But I'm essentially opening up that window and giving myself time and space to process everything. Excuse me. Okay, so like I said, this is a 2 week process for me, but I really want to. It's not just like people treat this as in like New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, and that's it, right? But there's also this funky in between week of after Christmas to New Year's that for me, and I never understood this, but for me, it always felt like I'm hanging in the balance between two dimensions. Like it's not quite the end of the year, but it is, but there's still time in the year, but it's not quite time for the new year for me to like jump into gear and hustle and do all the things. It's just like this hanging in the balance, if
Yeah, and
you will.
it's kind of weird because we're also in like a huge celebratory mode because
Yeah.
we just had Christmas. It's Monday after Christmas, and we probably are feeling, who knows, any type of way, tired or whatever it may be, or like we finally
Mhm.
have time to rest, and it's Monday. So, how do we go about this week and into this new year when at the end of this week, we're stepping into a new year, but we're also celebrating?
Mhm.
So it's like I can't, it maybe some people feel like I can't find a routine because of this celebration coming up. So like how can we navigate this week?
Well, and not only that, it's like booking clients.
Yeah.
We are busting our asses to get people in before Christmas. Some of us still take clients between Christmas and New Year's. I think this is the first year that I've ever given myself permission to take a full 2 weeks off at the holidays. And it's amazing. Granted, I did bust my ass the week. We're To give you guys context, we are recording this right before Christmas and it's coming out on the 26th.
Hmm.
Is that right? Do I have my days right?
The 26th is the day after Christmas. So
Monday.
yeah, Monday, you're right.
Okay, perfect. So we're recording this before Christmas and we're coming off of a couple of really, really insane weeks in the salon. So I know that for a lot of you, you are still in that insane holiday energy between Christmas and New Year's, and you may give yourself 1 to 2 days off extra during this time of year. So I know that you can't sit down and, you know, meditate for 2 weeks straight, which is not what I'm doing. Like I'm living my life. So I want you guys to understand that this, even if you are still in hustle mode, this is for you. And once we have this discussion and talk about these things, your subconscious is going to be processing these things behind the scenes and while you're sleeping. So your brain is going to do the processing for you, even if you're not sitting down and physically setting aside time to write these things out. So give yourself permission to be open-minded.
And just listen.
Yeah, and just listen and ponder.
Mhm.
So, the energy of this week actually kind of starts on December 21st. So, as you guys know, this year specifically, I've really, really delved into human design and Enneagram, but human design is the newest um, discovery and obsession for me where I'm diving in. Human design pulls from different modalities, but one of the main ones is astrology. It utilizes the chakras and chi and all of that stuff, but essentially it is based in astrology. So, as we know, before we had the calendar that we use to plan our lives is called the Gregorian calendar. Hasn't been around that long. The world for centuries used to base itself off of the stars and tracking time according to the stars. And the winter solstice, which is December 21st, is the longest night of the year. And that is essentially the start of the new year until the spring solstice, then that's, when spring comes. So it is signaling the beginning of winter, but it is also signaling the new year. So it is the time of year, just like, okay, I'm going to get a little, these are all parallels. So I believe I've talked on the podcast before about feminine planning, like according to your feminine cycle and your hormone fluctuations. So the seasons parallel the weeks of our cycle. So the winter season is when you are on your flow. That is a flow week. That is for us, it's a flow week. For the year, it is a flow season. It is an internal time of introspection, sitting down, reflecting, doing the work. It's good for tasks of resetting your menu and assessing, like getting templates set up. It's really good for back end work. Like you're not out there being seen or pitching or selling, or, I mean, obviously we have to work behind the chair usually whenever we're in that time frame, but as far as outside of the salon, that's what the energy looks like. It's a very internal time. So we have this period of time that started December 21st with the winter solstice, and it essentially goes until December 31st because the start of our calendar new year is New Year's Day on January 1st. So we have this funky week and a half of in between hang where it's kind of energetically, we are holding space for ourselves to be in the in between. And I think that most people don't like transitional phases. They want to be in it. They want to be working on a goal, building towards something. And it's hard to be in the in between. And I think that giving ourselves permission to be in the in between and really sit in it and process will keep us from wasting our time when we're in it, because then we actually know why we're doing something and we have a very, very clear picture of where we're going and what we need along the way for that journey.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. When you were saying in between, I was thinking about like a bridge or in a valley, because before you climb up a mountain, there's like this really low part to the mountain.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes at this part of the year, I kind of think of myself as like in this valley where things are a little bit easy, but I don't really know what mountain I want to climb next. So I'm just kind of like trying to refill my resources, my basic needs, rest as much as I can before I have another project, another
Mm-hmm.
mountain, another goal to accomplish, to kind of allow this lull to be a nourishing time for me.
Absolutely. On that, I like to think of it as a rest stop.
Yeah.
So when we're on a road trip, we have a rest stop. But if you've ever been to a state park or a place where there's hiking, there's always like the gift shop
Hmm.
or, where those public restrooms are and the picnic benches and the park map,
Hmm.
where it's like you finished a trail, but now like we need the potty break, we need a snack break, we need to get hydrated, we need to take a look at the map and see where we want to go next. So this transition, we're in between journeys, but we need to take the time to refuel, pit stop, and then like get a handle for where we're headed.
Hmm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. So, in this in between funk, I really, really love to ask myself, asking questions is powerful for me. That's something that I have learned as a projector. I really, really stand in my power, and I open up opportunity when it comes to questions. When I am asking powerful, thoughtful questions, and when I am responding to powerful, thoughtful questions. So when people ask me questions that are full of intention. So whenever I write down questions for myself, it really gets my brain thinking. But whenever I ask those questions, there are other energy types. Um,
As in regards to human design.
yes. So in the five energy types, 3 out of 5 of those need a projector's questions.
Mhm,
And projectors need each other's questions as well,
mhm,
because projectors need each other, which is something that I've really learned this year as well. You
mhm,
need people that see you in the way that you see people.
mhm.
So these are the questions that I have been mulling around in my head, and I'm still in the process of processing these things. So the three things that I want to look at my resources for the year. So essentially in my mind, I am whiteboarding, sticky noting, just reflecting on these three key areas. And these are my resources. I'm reflecting on my time, my energy, and my finances. Out of those three resources, for each of them, I want to say what is working in this area and what is not working. So, looking at January of this year, beginning of this year up until this point, I'm going to reflect on my calendar. I will literally pull out my calendar and do a review month by month, week by week, and say what worked that month, what did not work that month. And I'm going to write down how I felt in those times and in those things. I'm going to have a look. I mean, we've talked about money love dates before as well. And that's business and personal finance is a totally separate thing. But sitting down, it is important in those three key areas to do this for each of those areas and see what is working, what is not working, and what pivots do we need to make in that area. And out of time, energy, and money, to me, the most important of those things is time, because you can never get your time back. Ever, ever, ever. We can always make more money. We can always generate more energy. It's a little bit different. I mean, they're all different from each other. But no matter what, time is the one thing that you cannot get back. So I'm in these three key areas. The most important one for me is my time. All the others are just quick pivots and little changes like, oh, I'm going to cancel that subscription. Oh, I'm going to, maybe consolidate some stuff. Or as far as energy goes, maybe I need to reframe my morning routine to set my energy up for the day. Or my workouts, what do my workouts look like? For me, in this time of healing, I Nessa was saying, and I loved listening to the conversation you and Sierra had last week about all of that stuff. And I know that you guys mentioned to everyone kind of what I've been up to. Something that has been very, very powerful me, like you guys were saying, is getting back to those basics. And it's not self-care. It's not self-care at all. It is literally foundational. That is getting you out of fight or flight mode and into peace. I refuse to make decisions from a place of panic. This is something I talk about with my mentoring students as well. Um, when they're trying to make a big decision and they're flustered and they're like, well, and then there's this, and then there's this, and there's like all these other things. I'm like, okay, we're gonna take a minute and like pause. And I want you to ask yourself, are you making this decision from a place of panic or peace? Are you panic decision making, trying to put a band-aid on something? Or are you actually creating a decision and wanting an outcome that's going to put you in a peaceful state?
I have a question to go on the back of that. Like,
Yeah.
what if a person doesn't know that they've been in survival mode and have been functioning from a panicky mode for a long time? Like, how do you know the difference of this is how I make decisions from peace, and this is what it's like when I make decisions into more of a panicked energy?
Yeah, it's just like with PTSD or anybody who's gone through something traumatic in their life. You don't realize you're functioning in that energy because survival mode is all that you know.
Mhm,
So I want to ask you a question.
mhm.
When you are at peace, where do you feel that in your body?
In my body, I feel it in my, like, mid-body, sometimes closer to the stomach, but, like, heart-centered gut area, majority of the time, like,
So is it like
yeah,
center of chest, sternum,
yeah,
um, diaphragm,
yeah,
and then sometimes upper gut, like stomach?
yeah,
Okay,
like, in
so
that area. The
in
digestive tract
the digestive tract,
is where I feel it.
that piece.
Mhm.
When you're in panic, where do you feel it?
I feel it mostly in my head because there's like a swirling of thoughts, there's a swirling of questions and a feeling kind of in the same space of it almost kind of feels like an upset tummy, not so much like butterflies, but more like things are bubbling, things are unsure, things aren't settled. And I'm asking questions, but I don't know how to give myself the answer. And it's like a lot of fear when I don't know the answer.
Mhm.
So, like, a little scared, a little frightened, a little unsure kind of feeling.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I feel like you are potentially one of the most self-aware people that I know, and I know it because I know your journey. I know it's taken a lot for you to get to this point where you actually are in touch with your body
Mhm,
to know what your body is telling you.
mhm,
I am still very new to that journey.
mhm,
So over the last month and a half of my healing,
mhm,
I have been trying because of all the trauma that I've been through, my go-to operation is numb.
mhm,
So whenever I get really bad brain fog
mhm.
and and I start going numb, for me, even though it's not an intense physical sensation, I know that if I'm numbing out, I'm checking out, which
Which is
is
a survival mode
it is
thing?
a survival mode for me. It's a disassociation and it's technically fawn, like
Right.
fight,
I've
flight, freeze,
yes,
fawn.
yes.
It's I think it's a combination of freeze and fawn because it's kind of like play dead,
Mhm.
play dead, and no one like maybe they won't see us.
Yeah.
It's just this blending, wall flowering, and erasing,
Mhm,
and it's um and you've seen me go through this.
mhm,
It's lock it down,
mhm,
don't let anyone in, armor up,
mhm,
um, don't show vulnerability.
mhm,
No one needs to know that you don't feel like you have your shit together right now. Put on a brave face, suck it up.
mhm,
You have people counting on you. Suck it up, get your shit together.
mhm.
And numbing out feels like fuzzy.
Like the TV screen, that black and white
Yeah.
fuzz. Yeah.
It feels like that in my body,
Mhm.
but it's not like warm, cozy fuzzy. It's like lint fuzzy. I don't know if
Not
that
comfy.
it's not comfortable fuzzy.
Irritable.
It's like there's a tag scratching my back or like one of those sweaters that is like a funky knit that I don't want touching my neck.
Like those ugly Christmas sweaters?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
wearing an ugly Christmas sweater, not my heated blanket.
Yeah.
So it's the opposite of neutral.
Mhm.
And I think for a lot of people, it's very difficult to differentiate between neutral and numb.
Mm.
So in my body, like, obviously, when I'm in the salon and I have a client behind the chair, I can't be blank. I can't be mentally checked out. There have been times, and also stonewalling. That is a huge defense mechanism for people to not be vulnerable, is to just turn it all off. and to be a stone wall and to not let people in. And that is also like an abuser tactic to withdraw attention and stonewall someone in order to manipulate them to get what they want. So it is very hard when you've been a victim of any type of abuse to receive that from someone, but then you also catch yourself doing that, but it's a self-protection. It's not to try and get a specific behavior out of someone. So I think that recognizing the energy that we are in is very important. So going back to what I was saying about being behind the chair, obviously I can't be a blank stoic person when I'm serving a client, right? So panic instead of peace when I'm on looks like buzzing. It's like this energy of like this
Gotta keep moving, gotta keep
yeah,
moving.
don't lose your momentum. Don't stop going. So I will if I'm trying to like get the bubbles out of my K18, I start slamming that shit and just trying to, just go, 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 go. We're running out of time. And there's even this experience of time in my body in panic versus peace, where when I'm panicked, it's like I look at the clock when I'm doing something and I'm like, oh my God. And then I keep going and I look again and it's like, I think it's been 15 minutes, but it's been 45 minutes. And then I get this instant sinking in my gut of like, oh my God, where did all of that time go? When I'm in a peaceful state, it's like time slows down. I'm able to make decisions very well. I'm extremely productive and I can get more done in a small amount of time when I'm in that state than when I'm trying to work in that state of panic. And I normally end up having to correct what I've done anyways when I'm creating from panic versus peace. And that's even just Canva.
Yeah.
Like that's design, that's things in my business, that's everything, especially coloring wefts. Oh my God, if you color wefts in a panic, it's so easy to make dumb mistakes. So easy to make dumb mistakes, like grabbing the GB instead of the NW, and then you get mauve shit.
And then you have to correct it.
And then it's a whole thing.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. And nobody wants to waste hair like that. So it affects everything in our lives when we're operating from that space, and it affects the people around us. My team, my people know when I'm in that state, and they've learned to just kind of let me be, because like when we're in the salon, Nessa will, any way that she has tried to help, I shut it down. She's tried approaching with caution. She's tried leaving me alone. She's tried being assertive, and nothing works. And that's because I'm in charge of my energy. No one is in charge of your emotions or your responses but you. You can't control what happens to you, but you can choose how you respond to it. So it is my job in those moments where I'm feeling panicked to give myself permission to remove myself from the situation and go breathe for 2 minutes. So something that Vanessa and I've been doing in the salon when I'm in a not neutral state. Neutral in my body, like, let me explain what peace feels like really quick. So in my body, peace feels like, well, panic for me and that anxiousness can feel like a tight chest and stomach. For me, I start getting these gag reflexes and it feels like I'm choking all the time. And that has to do with previous experiences, but it's also the body remembers. The body holds trauma. So when I'm feeling activated, my body is literally
reliving that moment of trauma.
Yes. My body is reliving it. So I can't brush my teeth without having a gag. Like it's a struggle for me. So being able to stop in those moments and say, okay, it's happening. I'm going to give myself permission to feel these feelings because my body is just trying to keep me safe. My body's trying to protect me. And that's all that it knows, is protecting me. And we've talked about the subconscious because that's what's controlling our body, is our subconscious. Our subconscious is fully intact by age 7.
Mhm.
That's when our subconscious is being built from 0 to 7. So it's really your inner child screaming for help.
Mhm.
So I have to stop in those moments and say, okay, what does little Kim need? Kim doesn't feel like her voice matters. Kim doesn't feel like she's safe.
Mhm.
How can I help her?
Mhm.
What does she need from me? So that allows me to drop from panic into peace.
Mm.
So I'm learning ways to kind of like, I think of like chutes and ladders, how you can do like this quick jump when you get into the right spot. So I am learning my own modalities and my own methods for jumping into what would normally take me a very, very long time. Like normally an entire day would be ruined if I get into that state, right? So how do I facilitate my own peace?
I think the first step for you is awareness.
Absolutely.
If you can just be aware that you're in that state, then
Mhm.
you're able to recognize the steps that you need to take a breath, or maybe step back.
Mhm.
But if somebody's just functioning and not being aware of how they're acting throughout the day
Mhm.
or how they're feeling in their body, then you can't necessarily get to awareness
Mhm.
and then get to peace. And then maybe the day is more productive and you shoot that ladder. The first step is really,
Awareness is 80% of the work.
yeah, and noticing the emotions that come up in your body. And it takes time. It absolutely takes time. It's not like tomorrow you're going to be fully aware when you're angry, when you're happy, when you're sad. It takes time and patience.
Yeah,
With compassion and patience, you can get to awareness.
absolutely. And also that is why we love doing lunar planning, where every 28 days we start over. And when you reflect on the basis of 28 days, or as we're doing with this year, when you disconnect and reflect from that place, you can actually see how far you've come, because in a day-to-day basis, you actually don't feel like you're making that much progress. And it can be very defeating when you're only basing your worth off of a checklist of to-dos. So whenever we're in the salon and I'm in a panic state, something that has been working for us is Nessa saying to me, like, what do you need right now? How can I help you? So a lot of times I'm coming into the salon in the morning late in a flurry. Like I'm trying to unload my car, haven't eaten breakfast, haven't put makeup on. Like it's a mess. And a lot of that is because of finding a new routine at home and trying to figure out how to set myself up for success at home. So even me just saying to Vanessa, like, I need to eat. Once I eat, I think that that will help me. So then Nessa will make sure that everything else in the salon is set up. If the client is on their way, she'll make sure that she's greeting the client and taking them to the room, getting them settled in, and letting them know that I'll be in just a few minutes. But then she's taking over the greeting, because it's very important to me that I greet my client and open the door for them and welcome them by name and just chit chat. And because these, that homey feeling is important for me to facilitate. But if I'm not in the right energy, it gets my day with my client off on the wrong foot for myself.
Yeah, I do want to mention to the listener that Kim will greet our clients because we keep our doors locked. I know that probably most salons you keep your doors unlocked, but because of just being women
We're
and
all independent. We don't
yes,
have a receptionist
yeah,
or like greeters or anything. So we keep our doors locked and we all facilitate our own clients coming in and leaving. And it feels so much better energetically to not let people just walk in whenever they want to, because I'm in charge of my energy, and me keeping the salon door locked helps me manage my energy. And we have such little precious time in the salon, we have to protect it.
yeah. And I don't mean like women and like, oh, poor us. I mean like we're just on guard because
Also, we're working, so we're not paying attention to the
exactly
door.
that too.
So there's so many things.
Mhm.
Just like me having a child-free salon is very
Yeah.
weird for a lot of people. I like it like that.
Mhm.
And people can think it's weird all they want. It's
Mhm.
a boundary, it's an expectation. It allows us to work in the best way possible, and we love it.
Mhm.
We're finding what works for us, and it doesn't have to look like what other people do.
Yeah, so you'll give yourself time to eat, time to put on your makeup, and then
And I will give myself, there are many meditations on the Calm app. and I will do one of the like 1.5 minute, 2 minute meditations. I will do a short makeup routine. So just like the
Browse.
I will put brows on because brows are obviously always important. So I will do brows and I will do my SPF. I always have to have my SPF on. And then I'll do like a brightening under eye cream.
Mhm.
And I have my Jones Road. I'm obsessed with Jones Road right now. I could go, Nessa and I both could go off on how amazing Jones Road is. But they have this balm that I'm
Mm.
obsessed with. And I use the Au Naturel for everything. So as long as I have that little bit of glow and my brows on, I'm good, and
So
it
you use
helps
that
me
on
feel.
your cheeks and your lips?
I use it everywhere,
Yeah.
but I mainly use it for T-zone and for, feeling hydrated, but
Mhm.
this time of year, I dry out so bad.
Yeah.
Everyone does, especially with
Mhm.
heaters on. So for me, it's just I need to feel hydrated. I need to finish breakfast. Even if I can only finish half of my breakfast sandwich, it's something.
Mhm.
Brush my teeth, get grounded, do some meditation, and just honor my energy
Mhm.
for the day. And me taking an extra 5 to 10 minutes in the office before I go to my client to get grounded instead of just rushing to my client makes sure that I'm not sidetracking the day because I didn't own my own energy.
Mhm. But if somebody doesn't have an assistant, what could they do?
So before I had you helping me, what I
Mhm.
would do in those instances is greet the client, get them sat down, and say, I'm going to take a quick restroom break. I'll be right back.
Mhm.
And then I will literally meditate in the restroom and get grounded
Mhm.
and do some deep breathing. And it's a single stall.
Yeah.
So it makes it a lot easier. But that way I can just be in my own energy
Mhm.
without having someone in my bubble and
Yeah.
then get grounded there. So I will give myself 5 minutes to breathe
Mhm.
and go over my own game plan for the day as well after I've given myself space to get grounded.
Mhm. I love that.
But just get alone in your own energy.
Yeah.
And that's for everyone.
Yeah. Definitely. So what was the next thing that you wanted to discuss?
My tablet keeps falling asleep on me. Okay, so like I said, this is a 2 week process.
Mhm.
So it's very easy to, after you reflect, go straight into goal setting. So the work is in once you have done the reflection on these 3 areas, the time, the energy, the finances, and the big thing for me is also with the time, what are the biggest time wasters? What are like I had to stop doing community involvement because I spent a lot of time on events and things like that that really weren't doing anything for me and they just drained me. So
Mhm.
I have to ask myself with how I spent my time this year, what fueled me? What engagements actually I left feeling better than when I got there? And what didn't stress me out? So for me, I've had to really, really, really pull back. And this goes into energy as well. Actually, as as females, female brains, all of us in general, but it's very easy to shift back. And this is a spectrum. Gender is a spectrum, right?
Mhm.
So there there are different ways of thinking. There's compartmentalizing, waffle brain, and then there's spaghetti brain where everything affects everything.
Mhm.
I think that we all vacillate between the two format modalities of
Mhm.
thinking. But I have realized that it's beautiful when you're able to blend those two things together.
Mhm.
And our personal and our business lives affect each other. And if I let myself be drained at work, it's going to affect me at home
Yeah.
in my personal life.
Yeah.
So I have to reflect on all of it together. And I used to try and always keep everything separate,
Mhm.
but I have found that like my energy doesn't know the difference. My body doesn't know the difference. So if I am honoring my body in that way, then I
Mhm.
can reflect on everything as a whole
Yeah.
and not try and separate business and personal.
I love that that just gives permission that your personal is going to overflow into business, business into personal, and all things in between that. It's okay.
And exactly. And that's the thing. The whole reason we do this business, the whole reason we're in this industry, why we are our own bosses, we are business owners because we want to put our families first.
Mhm.
I don't know a single person in this industry who isn't doing this for their family.
Mhm.
They don't want to work at a corporation where they tell them they only get 2 weeks of vacation a year.
Yeah.
And they tell them what schedule they work.
Yeah.
And even there's a lot of commission salons now that operate where you are in charge of your business. You just make a commission and then we take care of all the hassle for you. I think that's wonderful. It's not common in our area, but I know that like those people are within this umbrella as well. So everyone's why is usually their family.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that anything that takes away from that, if this is hurting, if there's any decisions that you made this year that hurt your family instead of supporting your family, you get to decide if you continue engaging in that or not.
Define hurt, like less time.
For instance, the amount of time that I spent traveling this year was, I went into the year being like, oh my God, I love traveling. I love traveling. It's going to be so great going to all the places all the time. Once I was in it, I found out that when I was gone, the amount of time that I was gone, it hurt more because I love my people so much. I have created a home that is my safe space. It's my hobbit hole. It's everything for me. My husband is my best friend. My sister is my best friend. My dogs are my children. So having to be gone 5 days at a time and only communicate because I'd be busy all day.
Yeah.
So communicating by text whenever I could get to my phone or just FaceTiming one time at night, seeing my dogs not eat while I was gone and seeing my husband have to do everything by himself and seeing how it affected you guys, as in my sisters, with me not being present for y'all, it didn't feel good. And I realized how much it was affecting me to be gone. There were 2 times this year that Vanessa got into a wreck, and it happened while I was on a trip,
Yeah.
and I wasn't there.
Yeah.
And as big sister, it is so hard to not be able to show up. At the same time, I know it was good for you to handle things on your own,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like we've gotten to the point in our relationship where you are able to do that even when I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
So the most important thing to me in life is you guys. It's my people. And I realized that me not being present for you guys, like the point in everything that I did wasn't worth what it took. Like my family paid and I paid energetically and time wise, we paid for that
Mm.
and it wasn't worth it.
Mm.
And I've processed this and I'm still processing it. But reflecting on that, it's like my dream of traveling for work, I got to be in it. And I realized that that is no longer my dream.
Mm.
When I travel, I want it to be with my people, not away from my people. Travel can still be a passion of mine
Mm-hmm.
in an aligned way.
Mm-hmm.
Travel in and of itself is a neutral thing, but it's like what you do with it.
Mm.
So reflecting on, what do I need to let go of? And for me, when it comes to all of that, I mean, I don't want to give away too much because we're still in the process of creating everything that we're going to be launching this year. So I don't want to give too much away, but let's just say there's going to be a lot of facilitating things here at home. So I get to see my people every night.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm very excited about it. But this is also why I keep saying it is very important that this week from Christmas to New Year's, this is a reflect week only. This is a week where we're deciding what are we going to leave behind in 2022. We have to clear out the space, even if that means dumping and wiping off the plate completely and starting from scratch with an empty plate. The most important thing is do not immediately start filling your plate once you've cleared it. Do not fill this plate. Give yourself the whole week to process.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to reflect. You're going to sit down and think about all of it
Mhm.
and process.
Mhm. I think also a good thing to think about when clearing out, it includes not only a physical space, but your internal, like, thoughts, heart, and energy. It's a great week to do energy work.
Mhm.
Some small goals we have is to do maybe a little bit of clearing out around the salon.
Oh, yeah.
Even home, I have plans for home to do some clearing out. But I also don't want to, for me, do it into such an extreme that it overwhelms me.
And that's the thing, is that are you
Mhm.
clearing out from panic or peace?
Exactly.
So if you're like, "Oh my god, I need to reorganize the entire salon in 2 weeks so that I can make
Yeah.
sure I'm taking clients when I open my books up,"
Yeah.
that's panic, and we're gonna stop
Yes.
right there.
Yes.
Whenever you and that's the thing, the self-awareness.
Mhm.
And that was something that I also wanted to speak to when we were talking about being self-aware. Thank you for reminding me.
Mhm.
The next step in that self-awareness, once we recognize where those things are in our bodies, is having the language to even communicate to
Mm.
ourselves and our people what it is that we're experiencing.
Mhm.
And for so long, I didn't have the language to say what I was experiencing.
I think the book that really helped you find the words was Brené's book. Is that correct?
Yes, Atlas of the Heart, and it came out this time last year.
Yeah.
So it has been a big learning year for me, but like discovering me and
Mhm.
excavating myself.
Because there was more than just happy, angry, fearful for you. There
And most
was
people can only identify like 7 emotions.
yeah.
And our human experience is a vast spectrum.
Yeah.
And it's very important to not confuse certain ones that are kind of within the same family.
Yeah. And even being able to hold maybe more than one emotion in the body, like thankfulness and maybe even anger
Hmm.
about maybe things that didn't work out as we expected,
It's
but
the
thankful
and.
for the growth. It's a both
Hmm.
and that it's okay to feel both and it's not wrong to feel those things.
Absolutely. The other thing with defining emotion and defining the human experience is understanding the enemy of something. So,
Mhm.
one of my favorite examples that Brene speaks about is what is the enemy of love? And your automatic response is always hate, right?
Mhm.
The enemy of love is hate. But actually, that's just the opposite of love. The enemy of love is actually something called the near enemy, which means it's just like right off from it, and that is control.
Mhm.
So, love motivated by control is not love.
Mhm.
So, having the language, it's just like bubble wrapping your kids, right? You're doing
Mhm.
it because you love them, but also, are you doing it because you're trying to control, or are you preventing them from being their own person?
Can you give me in the salon example? Maybe even using me?
I think that something that has really, really helped me is not micromanaging you and trusting, even with just me taking this time off from the business. And this is like systems and processes for in the salon. And that's the whole thing. Like this season is about systems and processes and refining those things this time of year. And we're going to get to that next week in our conversation. We're not talking about that this week because we are reflecting only. That is what Capricorn season is all about, is systems. One of the things that we have done, because I was so micromanaging and nitpicky with Vanessa, we had to sit down and be like, okay, what can we do to set Vanessa up for success so that I'm not constantly nagging at her? Because I was sitting there saying, she's been with me for over a year, and why is my tray not set up right? Like she hasn't gotten this. And I was like, no, Kim, do not do that. It is so easy to jump into justify, deny, or lay blame. It is so, and this is something that we've been discussing in the salon this week between all of us. It is human nature is to point the finger first and never reflect on our own behavior and how we have contributed to something. So I have to stop and say, hold on, why am I pointing the finger at her instead of owning my part? So setting her up for success looks like me setting my tray up and saying, okay, Nessa, this is what I want my tray to look like for this particular thing. This is an install setup. Take a photo of this, label it. That way, you know, during the flow of our appointment, this is what my tray looks like for this particular thing. So now Vanessa has resources that she can go to. So I'm setting her up to be independent and to own her role in that way versus me silently holding on to resentment and bitterness because she's not doing it the way that I've told her over and over and over again. I have to understand that her learning style is different from mine. Her communication style is different, and our brains are different. That's a good thing. We balance each other out. But whenever I'm in the salon, it's very easy for me to get into a stressed, panicky state. Very,
Mhm.
very easy to go there. So, how do we set ourselves up for success so that we don't go there?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that's a very well said. And for me, it really helped to have those pictures. So I wasn't always waiting for you to tell me what to do next.
Mhm.
And just having pictures as like,
We're visual people.
yeah, a very visual person.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. We're going to speak more about systems and how we set ourselves up for success next week. The entire point of this week is clearing space, reflecting, and the self awareness piece of it.
And I just wanted to say, like, um, we're not saying that you have to start clearing out everything in your life,
No.
but just go with the thing that you feel ready to put your attention onto and into next. There might be some things in your head that you're like, I need to do a lot of everything, but let's just go with one that maybe feels a little bit easier than like, ugh, like hard.
But I agree with that. Also, if you start getting all of the downloads and the ideas, write them down
Yeah.
so that your body's not scared of you forgetting it. Write it down and put it away. It doesn't mean you need to get started on it this week.
Yeah,
This
that's good.
week is about holding space. I'm going to read what I wrote down earlier. Hold space this week and give yourself permission to process and sit with it all.
Yeah.
Just notice what your mind, body, and intuition are saying to you this week.
Mhm.
Your only job this week is to hold space for yourself. And then when you're ready, you can process and transmit that energy. So I want to talk about what that looks like and how we're going to be doing those things. But we're going to be releasing those things once we have completed and we feel at peace with our reflection time that we've spent this week. So maybe more towards the end of the week, around New Year's Eve-ish, this coming, not this weekend that we're in for Christmas. Well,
Right.
they're going to be listening on Monday.
Yeah.
But at the end of the week, then whenever you are ready, we're going to process that and neutralize that and transmute that energy before we can start writing down our intentions for the following year. So, noticing what your mind, body, and intuition are saying to you, because your intuition will communicate with you in different ways. So, just setting the intention of saying, okay, I'm ready for whatever I need to process this week. I'm ready to reflect. Universe, show me. God, show me. Spirit, show me. Or higher self, Kim, show me what I need to see. Bring it to my attention. And if that is sensations in the body, if that is thoughts, mental pictures, if that is seeing signs, whatever that is, follow that. It's different for everyone.
Yeah, it is. I think that that's really beautiful. So it feels a little more easy and effortless and not so much like, I have to give my attention to everything. No, just a little at a time.
And not everyone can expect themselves like they're most of the people that listen are they have kids.
Yeah.
And kids are on Christmas vacation right now. They're on winter
Right.
break. So you can't just sit for an hour every single day to meditate. So maybe it's recording audio messages for yourself or jotting down a note here and there, but carve out space for yourself every day to just sit and be in your own energy, whatever that looks like for you. Even if it's 5 minutes hiding in the closet, I don't care what it is, but give yourself time for you.
And also, as we will go into the next episode here in a minute, um, if you feel like you haven't even been able to reflect, you can also set a precedence if you have kids that once they're back in school to then maybe give more
Absolutely.
attention to the reflection and the stuff
Mhm.
like that. Just because we're winding down to the end of a Gregorian calendar year doesn't mean there's no more space for you to reflect. You can
Absolutely.
still reflect after we've hit January 1st. I think that it's still a good time, especially in winter season, to have time to reflect. And after you feel like you've done that energetically, mentally, whatever, and then when you're ready to move forward, then start doing the goals.
And the intention setting.
Yeah.
That's the thing. This is the start of winter.
Yeah.
This is the start of introspection time. March 21st-ish is whenever we get into spring.
Yeah.
That is blooming. That's starting to be out and about.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, January and February are reset months. And the thing is, you're not just doing this for the next year. You're also doing this to think about, okay, what do I want life to look like 5 years from now? What do I want my life to look like 10 years from now? Because that big picture will determine what we're doing this year. So you're not behind if you're doing this later, mid to late January, even February. You are not behind. You are right where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing is to be where you are. And you can repeat this entire process of the reflecting and then the intention setting quarterly, every 90 days. You can do it at a 6-month marker. You can do this anytime you're wanting to pivot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want,
beautiful.
Nessa, I want you to talk us through, because this is your wheelhouse. I want you to talk us through what processing and transmuting and releasing that energy looks like.
For me, there's all kinds of modalities that you could do, all kinds of different techniques. To process some things, honestly, be in it, feel the emotions, allow yourself to think and be, like Kim said, be in the in between. It's okay to be there. We don't have to get to the end of the equation. We don't have to get to the end of the result right away. We don't have to look for resolutions ASAP. We can be in the unknown and be safe.
Absolutely.
It helps to maybe after you've thought about maybe the hard stuff, maybe dance it out, maybe go for a walk, maybe do some kind of movement. My favorite is yoga, workout, go for a run, whatever works best for you. And you feel ready to do, go do that movement, because physically moving helps that energy to be released.
It transmutes in the body.
Transmutes, another way of saying that, if you're unfamiliar.
Changes.
Yeah.
Shifts.
Yes. I
It's
love
a
it.
metamorphosis, like it's the cocoon.
Yeah. Yeah. So then other things that you could do, personally, Kim and I love using like sage and Palo Santo after we've thought about or worked through some really hard things, to just kind of clear the energy on a molecular element, molecule atom level. Sage actually does clean the air, and it's really cool.
Oh yeah, for sure.
What else? Can you think of any others?
Yes. So we were actually discussing this with Monica the other day in the salon, and she was talking to us about her practice. And in our salon, we talk about everything, but we're always talking about the work, right? So something that Monica did, and it's something that I'm going to be doing as well, because I'm still on the precipice of this process. This is the first year that Ben's actually been able to be on vacation Christmas to New Year's, and we will have been married for 10 years in June this coming year. So it's kind of a big deal for us to have this time together. And I historically struggle with unplugging from work to be present with my family. My intention for this week is to be fully present with him in this time off and to just be. So whenever I'm in this processing, I am not going to let that take away from me being present with us. So that for me may look like taking a bath and having my tablet and maybe jotting some things down on my tablet while I'm in the tub, because I have a double water sign. I'm a sun and moon water sign. So I have learned that water is very powerful for me for processing. And it fully explains why I spend so long in the bathtub. I literally burnt out the jets in my tub, you guys. I literally burnt them out because I had them on for 4 hours. So doing that disconnects me from everyone else. And I just tell Ben, like, hey, I need to take a bath. Let's plan for this so that you can manage all the other things with our family while I take this time out for myself. So setting yourself up in a way that you know you can reconnect with you. So I'm going to be writing things out in that way. But once I have written those things out, what I'm going to do is what Monica gave us the example of. So I'm going to write those things out. And once I feel content with what's on that paper, I'm going to fold it and then fold it away from me on the last fold, because that is releasing it and pushing it and getting that energy out. Then I'm going to go and burn it in a safe place. I love burning a handwritten thing. Like that's one of my favorite things to do is to burn shit. I'm kind of a pyro. Haven't done anything crazy, and I don't think I've ever done anything crazy, but I love, like, for me, I'm a Palo Santo person, obviously only ethically sourced, but burning is such a beautiful transmutation and releasing. So, burning all the things you want to release is very, very powerful. So, for me, that's what that's going to look like this week, but it is going to happen in little pockets of time whenever it feels right for me, when I feel that pull to go and spend some alone time during family downtime.
Yeah, I love that.
Mhm.
Obviously, if you feel pulled to anything that feels creative for you or anything that you're like, "Ooh, I would love to do that." Like, I would say follow that.
Mhm.
Absolutely follow that. You can always like Pinterest things of like journals or anything like that. There's a whole other resources out there, but I feel like whatever you're feeling like doing, whatever ideas come to mind, definitely follow those.
Well, and 70% of the population needs to do what lights them up
Mhm.
and what their gut is telling them to do.
Mhm.
So if you are feeling lit up by something, follow that.
Lit up meaning like drawn to.
Drawn to, like, oh my God, that looks amazing.
Mhm.
What does lit up feel like for you because you're a generator?
Mhm. Um, lit up feels, and I'm also Sagittarius. It's like spontaneity.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of comes up when I'm not expecting it, and ideas come through when I have like space in my brain almost.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just like this instant feeling of like, ooh, I want to go do this. And so
Mm-hmm.
I go do that. Lately, I've been wanting to do some stuff with rocks and even do like a scrapbook for recipes and stuff like that.
I love that. For you, also, another big thing is food. So
Hmm.
it'll be like I want to go eat dinner here tonight. Like, I
Yeah.
want to take myself out.
Hmm.
So I think for a lot of people, doing a solo dinner date or a solo coffee date and getting some alone time,
Hmm.
or just whatever feels good.
Hmm.
For me as a projector, and 20% of the population is projectors, and there's 5 types of projectors with different types
Hmm.
of strategies and authorities. So for me, it is leaning into, I'm not, I am responding in a way, but it's leaning into what makes me feel seen. And a lot of the reflecting that I'm going to be doing this week is what areas. So a generator or an energetic energy type, like manifestor generator, manifesting generator, a good thing to be asking yourself throughout this week is, what lit me up this year? What lit me up and what drained me? And for a projector, saying, and reflectors energetically, and that's less than 1% of the population, reflectors need to follow this projector prompts. So it's the energetic and non energetic types, essentially, whenever I'm speaking about strategy in that way, because it's easiest to kind of categorize them in that way. So for us projectors and reflectors, it's what places and spaces and people made me feel seen and valued and understood and heard, and just gave me the warm fuzzies. And I'm going to reflect on that and say, what do I need to let go of, and what do I need to lean into in the upcoming year? So, what are the coffee dates that I need to say no to? And what are the coffee dates that I need to say hell yes to?
Hmm. That makes sense.
And then viewing my time as my highest commodity. So, I've really had to separate myself from letting everyone on the face of the earth have access to me via social media and whatever, as a business owner, that's just so normal for people to be able to shoot a DM and get a response.
Mhm.
Having Sierra in that role to filter everything for me and be the first point of contact for any way of contacting me has energetically freed me up so much. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It is amazing how it is unlocking things for me to be disconnected.
Mhm.
And when I actually am leaning into rest and rejuvenation and taking care of me, I'm manifesting the things that I've been trying to bust my ass for. So the more proof I have that rest is working for me, the more it makes me want to rest. And the more I'm looking for ways to infuse rest into my daily life.
That's very interesting because I've noticed that within me when I lean into my design of human design as a generator, when I'm following my joy, things are manifesting. And it's so weird because that's not how I have learned things.
Ever. This is the first time I've ever even thought in this way.
Yeah. So it's like, ooh, let's do that more.
And for me, leaning into that, not from a place of, oh, that feels joyful or that feels exciting. It's like, ooh, I get to do that in my pajamas.
Mm-hmm.
Or um like we are working, one of the things that I will reveal is that we are cosifying the salon. So we're making it kind of like this projector safe haven because all of the service providers at this point are projectors and we are ooey gooey feelers. But that also means that we thrive in a restful state. So, how can I infuse rest into the salon so that when I'm in the salon, I'm not operating from panic, I'm operating from peace? So, we're working on peacifying and cosifying and making it our home away from home to where I don't feel like I have to be on. It is the best possible environment for me to just be me.
Yeah.
So even shifting your environment in that way of being the optimal facilitator for your energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's awesome. Was there anything else you wanted to mention as we wind this down?
So I think the biggest thing is really remember, you are going to goal set.
Mhm.
You are going to plan. It is just not happening until after January 1st.
Mhm.
Give yourself permission to put that away. And this week is rest and reflect only. It's a rest and reflect week. We will get back to planning and prepping and being excited and vision boarding and all of those things next week. And we're very, very excited for that conversation. But if you're not giving yourself permission to do this work and holding space for yourself to process these things, you're not going to be doing any of that next week from the right place, space, and energy. You owe it to yourself to give yourself the gift of this reset before you jump into it. Like, do not start on that next hiking trail until you have gone to the bathroom, drank water, unloaded your backpack, repacked with the things you're going to need for this journey, maybe taken a nap. Because if you take a nap between hikes, you're going to be better on the next hike. But if you go immediately into the next hike with everything that you have from your previous hike, um, what if you need to rock climb and all you had was your swimming gear? Like, these are different expeditions. We are doing different things. You cannot expect the tools and the things that got you to here to take you forward. You have to unpack here. Unpack, clear it out, set out the tools, get rid of the stuff that needs to stay at base camp. It's not gone forever. It's just going to stay at base camp. Reset, repack with the things. Next week, we're going to repack with the things that are going to carry us through. So get your energy right, take a freaking nap, rest so that you can actually have the energy that you need for this next journey.
Yeah. I don't think there's any other way I could wrap this podcast up. That was beautifully said. So, guys, this is bye for now, and we will see you next week.
We'll see you in the new year, guys.